Hi everybody, Andrew Cuneo here. Today I'm going to be doing something a little bit different. I'm going to be playing Historic Brawl. There's a charity tournament coming up this weekend that some of my friends are playing in that's being organized by Ultimate Guard. And it's a Historic Brawl tournament. I was talking to Kai a little bit about Historic Brawl. He asked me what I like to play in the format, and I said I like to play my spider deck. And Kai was not impressed by the sound of my spider deck. He wanted something a little bit more competitive. So I decided to try making a deck based around Teferi, Hero of Dominaria, which is what I've done here. And I was surprised once I went through it that you can get to a 100-card deck and you don't really have to put any bad cards in your deck. There are enough cards available on Arena now that you really you don't have to dig, too deep to find cards to play. So I've been playing this deck some, and it feels pretty good. For people who don't know, the way Historic Brawl works, depending on how good the creature or planeswalker you choose as your commander is, or maybe this is your brawler, I don't know what's called in Brawl, you get paired against other top tier ones. Teferi puts you in the top tier. So when I play in the Historic Brawl queue, I mostly play against Ragavan, or Rusko, or Kinnan, other really, really powerful commanders. So if you're going to try this out, you are signing up to play against other people who are also, trying to play pretty seriously competitive decks. I guess I'll go over a few of the things to note. I'm not going to talk about every card because obviously this is a singleton deck and there's a lot of cards. One card that is good in Brawl is Curse of Silence. It makes your opposing commander cost 2 more, and then you get your card back. And pretty much everyone's deck is based around the idea that they're going to be trying to cast their commander as soon as they can, for the most part. So this is a pretty big hoser card for that. A lot of the hoser cards are banned in Brawl, so you can't play meddling mage type effects that just make it so your opponent literally can't cast their commander. But this one is still legal because it's not that big of a hoser card, but it is a pretty big hoser card still. So at first I wasn't sure if this was going to be worth it, but after having played a bunch, it's 100% worth it. I think if you want to make a good Brawl deck and you're playing with white, you would have this in your deck basically all the time. This is, I believe, the only format on Arena outside of Cube where Swords to Plowshares and Brainstorm are legal. It's cool to be able to play with them. Same thing goes for Memory Lapse. One other kind of Brawl staple is Wash Away. So this, you can counter their commander for 1 mana, which is a pretty nice deal. What else is there that is interesting? Oh, Counterspell is another one that's only Brawl legal. And then I have Arcane Signet, which most Brawl decks are going to play this. I don't know if the Ragavan decks do, but pretty much anybody who's playing a slightly more expensive curve is playing with it. And most people are also playing with Mox Amber. I think that's the Mox that's turned on by Legends. Which gets me to my next card of note, Topple the Statue. This is probably, if you go through my entire list, the one that looks like the weirdest inclusion, but it's because basically every deck is going to have some artifact targets, and obviously you can always just use this to tap your opponent's land in their upkeep, or tap a creature to make it not attack you, or against other blue decks, tap some of them, tap one of their lands at the end of their turn, so that you can start a counterfight over Teferi. It's a pretty innocuous looking card, but I've actually found it to be pretty decent. What else have I got that's interesting? Oh, so I've got, this is the nerfed historic version of Teferi Time Raveler. From talking to Kai, it sounded like the way that the tournament's going to work, they're not going to have the nerfed versions of the cards because they're playing in direct challenge or something. So when I was building this deck, I was thinking that nobody's going to be able to play Orcish Bowmasters because it's the super nerfed version, which is the case if you play in the Brawl queues. I think it might be different for their tournament. And also, I would have to play the nerfed version of the One Ring, which is not in my deck. And I've got the nerfed version of Teferi Time Raveler. This is still pretty good. This is, I mean, the 3-mana version is certainly better, but this is still a pretty good card, I would say. Another interesting inclusion I've got, I am playing Where is it? One Lotus Field is buried somewhere in these lands. I've got some of the ways to enable Lotus Field in my deck. And also just playing Lotus Field and sacking 2 lands is perfectly fine because you know you're going to cast Teferi basically every game, and Teferi just goes so well with Lotus Field. I do have Discontinuity to stop you from sacking the lands, and Tail's End, which you would play Tail's End 100% of the time, even if you weren't playing Lotus Field. And then the other card I have is Stifle, which is like a 1-mana way to cheat a Lotus Field into play. That is not legal in Explorer. It's only legal in Historic and in Historic Brawl. It's also just, it's not only useful with Lotus Field. There are plenty of comes into play abilities to Stifle. A lot of the times people playing Rusko they don't care that much about the Rusko. It's mostly about getting the Midnight Clock. And if you just stifle the trigger where they get the Midnight Clock, they just have this 3/3 that's sitting in play that you can ignore for a while. Like they would almost prefer for it to die so they could recast it and get a new and cast it again to try to get a Midnight Clock. Just kind of a cool interaction. Other things that are interesting. I guess one interesting thing I didn't talk about is how does this deck win? Like, obviously, if you play through the standard where this Teferi is illegal, this is a 1-card win con because you can just, once you get an emblem, you can keep tucking this back into your deck so you never run out of cards and you just exile all of your opponent's cards. I'd never won a game of Historic Brawl like that. Most people just concede in Historic Brawl when it starts, looking like it's going to go that way. But other than that, I can get tokens from White Sun's Twilight. I've got a Wandering Emperor. I've got some ways to win in my lands. I've got Castle Ardenvale, Hall of Storm Giants. I've got a Mirex. I think that's about it. There might be one or two other things that could win the game, but usually I win through people conceding to me because they realize it's become hopeless. Oh, here's another card that's an interesting card for this deck. Lost to Legend. This is another thing that is good because it can target historic permanents. That's kind of one of the weird things about commanders. Everyone's going to have a historic permanent, so a lot of kind of niche cards get to be way more played. And a card like Urza's Ruinous Blast, you would not want to put in your deck at all because even though you're going to have a historic permanent, a lot of your opponents are just going to only have historic permanents. I guess the other thing I should say is I do have a lot of sweepers in my deck. You have access to very good sweepers when you do this. I've got Supreme Verdict, Wrath of God, Day of Judgment, Sunfall, and Farewell. I also have Cleansing Nova, which is kind of like a cheaper, worse version of Farewell, I would say. I don't have Doomscar. And like you could obviously, there's a bunch of 4-mana ones that are worse than the ones I'm playing that you could play if you wanted to play more. But anyway, this is the collection of cards I've got. It's been pretty good for me, and I at least enjoy playing this style of deck. I don't know how much fun my opponents have in the Brawl queue, but let's find out. Right away with the Teferi Mirror. They have the fancy Teferi. This Teferi card style, I think, came from playing in the original beta. I think I have this style, actually, but I don't ever use it because I don't like the card styles. My opponent's really tanking here. They're probably thinking, what did I sign up for? I don't want to play against Teferi decks with my Teferi deck. I think the Command Tower is legal in Alchemy. But you can't have a commander, so it doesn't tap for mana. Oh, this person has Mana Confluence in their deck. A little surprising. They also have Mana Tithe in their deck. They don't have a Spell Pierce type card. They do not.
Those who cannot smile, just the trick for this.
Did you have fun in the match? I guess I had fun. I don't think my opponent did. I'm going to skip. I'm going to defer judgment. Another Teferi mirror. The sand is way worse than the Teferi mirror. I will take the free mulligan, which is a weird thing that exists in Historic Brawl. Like I said, it exists in all Commander style formats, but I still find it weird. Yeah. They seem to be off to a much better start than me. I want to find a counter, not a thing that's just going to exile the fairy when they play it. Obviously, Dovin's Veto is going to be very good. I have this land in my deck as well. I'm not really sure it's worth playing. I kind of just put it in my deck to have a card that was more fun than a basic island, but it's not like playing in Modern where you can search it up with fetch lands. I think it's banned in Modern. You used to be able to do that in Modern. Maybe you can do it in Legacy still. I don't know. I don't play those old formats anymore. I know you can't get it with Fabled Passage. But supposedly we're getting actual fetch lands, I think, pretty soon on Arena. And I would imagine they're going to be legal in Brawl and probably nowhere else. What does this card do? They're really trying to just give me a beatdown. I guess I'm going to deny a card, because I don't really see this Stifle doing much. What set was this thing from? Is this a card that was legal in Standard at some point? I think it might have been. I'm going to bluff that I'm panicking. And then we're going to Dovin's Veto it. Probably can't just jam my own Teferi. So I want to be able to cast Archmage's Charm. It's a little bit too many lands for one person to have. Get rid of one of them. Seagate Restoration it is. Yeah, I maybe should have played my own Teferi that turn just to prevent them from being able to spend 7 mana to do that. Probably should have. This is going to be a blast from the past. A little bit of Sphinx's Revelation. Guess I'll do this now. This is awkward. If they have a decent hand, this game's going to get out of control very quickly. They do seem to have a lot of kind of clunky cards in their deck, so maybe it's not going to get that out of hand. But I'm already down a flashback to Memory Deluge, so it's not looking great. Narset Fairy Mastermind, is that a combo? No. It just stops the Fairy Mastermind from working. That would be the opposite of a combo.
Keep up the pace.
Don't even have enough white mana. Guess I screwed up by putting the Captivating Crossroads on white. If I wanted to help them out, I could Demolition Field them here.
Hurry.
Alright. I may have fallen somewhat far behind, but this is the beginning of my comeback. How much mana do they have untapped? 7.
I train every day. No, keep an open mind.
I'm going to Lost to Legend their Teferi rather than trying to cast my own. I think they're going to Castle Vantress here, which I'm going to allow to resolve. And I'll Lost to Legend this thing. And I'm not going to Demolition Field the Castle Vantress right away. Rather have my mana available to Memory Lapse. I assume they're going to minus on the Narset, which is fine.
Down. I'm not ready for you quite yet.
This glue does not seem like it's going to be a winner.
I'm known for my expo, but
thoughtfulness before action.
Reprieve, on the other hand, is probably pretty good.
Keep up the pace.
Oh, they're done. This is the classic historic brawl battle. A-Teferi versus Ragavan. This hand is not very good. This hand is also not particularly good. One thing I will say about playing against Ragavan is that at least the cards they're hitting off of the top of your deck with Ragavan, they can almost never put to good use. Because it's just like counter spells and Wrath of Gods. For the most part. They do get the treasures, which means that they're pretty accelerated. Kind of tempting to play a Narset there and just dig for a Wrath. The problem is I don't even have the right lands to cast it. Remember that they're going to get whatever card I scry to the top with the Ragavan, so I don't really want to give them an Arcane Signet. What does this card do? Pro blue and black? Killed the red and green sword. So I'm going to take another 6 here, go to 7, effectively at 5 with the Ramanop Ruins. Actually, effectively at 4, assuming that they surveil the card into the yard. Decent chance that I'm just dead. Because I'm actually at effectively 2 after the Ragavan gets dashed. So dead. That was not a strong showing. Usually the people that are playing Asika as their commander are playing like a 5-color control deck effectively. I think I would rather convert this into a land than let them potentially take it. It's a lot of basic lands. What's going on over here? They have no targets for Demolition Field, but I just wanted to make sure I made a land drop. Please don't play something annoying like Nissa. Can this be countered? No.
If you want a job done right, hire the best. Don't worry, I got you. Well, this wasn't what I signed up for.
What's it going to be, opponent? You've ripped my hand apart. Don't know about these, though. I guess I still can't cast the Prismatic Bridge. I don't have red mana. This isn't a... Oh, it is a legendary enchantment. That's not good for me. This guy's like their MVP. Or I guess lady.
Trust me. You know what? I'm not done.
Not that island. Do you want to give up the plains? I guess I'll give up the plains. Esper Sentinel. It's kind of a funny one to hit. Yeah, you got a card.
Enough.
What do they got in the north? Not even a creature land. They could have gotten Faceless Haven. Holy cow, that's a big boy. They can't Thought Erasure me and play that giant Kaya in the same turn. Can't even play the Jin-Gitaxias. This is quite a hole I've dug for myself. It's really not very good for me.
As soon as I think of one. Hurry!
Returned.
I was looking to see if I Jawari Disruptioned it, would it allow me to stifle the Nicol Bolas? The answer was no. This is a slaughter.
Pity, were you going to use that?
They had 2 unknown cards, and it turned out they were miscast and negate, which was not that was not conducive to me winning.
This is hardly my worst defeat. You know what? I'm not done.
All right, we can do a little bit with this. Starting with the land is not... that's probably not going to work out too well for me because I don't have any spells I can cast. Alright, good game. I think I'll keep that. So they're going to turn that into a mana producing permanent when they resolve their Galazeth. I see their plan. See what they've got going on. Please no spell pierce. Wash away. Okay. Do have this Supreme Verdict, which I think is going to give me a pretty substantial measure of safety. You get a treasure, and artifacts can tap to cast instants and sorceries. Hopefully they don't do some crazy thing like time warp and fork it. Or you can keep that. Oh, I don't mind. Beginning to feel like they have a lot of treasures. I could get Banefired to death very easily. And probably... Oh. I give up. I just wanted to I wanted to be able to counterspell, but I couldn't figure out how to do it.
From the world any longer. You know what? I'm not done.
Glad that I didn't need to be able to play that counterspell. All right, now things are looking up. This thing's starting to get expensive for them to put into play. succeed pretty
Right on
soon.
schedule.
But maybe not.
Here we go.
I actually think Sphinx's Revelation's pretty bad in this deck. I'm kind of playing it more for fun than because I actually think it's powerful. Like, I could probably resolve if I cast it now, but I really don't need to draw any more cards to win this game, I would say. Jaya's Immolating Inferno. I'm not going to get to find anything cool, though. I don't have any 9s in my deck. Alright, another classic battle. Teferi versus Rusko. Sure. You just played a 2-mana 2/3. I guess it loots. I'll wait till next turn, or maybe even later than that before we start doing anything. This is an untapped land right now. I need 3 or more other islands. I could get back my Memory Lapse if I wanted to, or my Memory Deluge. Guess they got me with the Dark Ritual to defeat the Mystical Dispute. They can play Necropotence now? No. They did not play Necropotence. I kind of want to try playing the Rusko decks just because I think it'd be fun to play with Necropotence in them. I think a lot of people don't have Necro in their Rusko deck, though.
Keep up the pace. You're not going to witness.
Use another land, especially a white land that comes into play untapped. Fun fact, on Arena, Dead Destruction and Wrath of God are the same card because nothing regenerates. At least that was true for a while. Maybe they printed they've reprinted a regenerating card since then. Well, I hope you enjoyed that. Like I said, this is actually, it's a pretty good deck. I guess I went 4-2 in the games. I think I screwed up against that 5-color deck. I should have ossified the Delighted Halfling. I didn't realize it was going to make their Prismatic Bridge uncounterable. Yep, it's, like we saw, most people are going to concede. They're not going to make you play it out to the bitter end to try to find a way to win. So you don't get to play a ton of sweet long games like I did in that one Teferi matchup, but It is powerful, and you can win a lot with this deck. Thanks for watching. See you next time.